A farmer is not feeling well, so his wife takes him to the doctor's office. After the doctor examines him, the doctor calls the farmer's wife in to talk to her alone. She asks,
"Is my husband going to be okay, doctor?"
The doctor replies,
"Well, he will be if you do everything I say. You have to prepare all of his meals for him every day. All food must be organic and gluten-free. He cannot have flour or sugar. His stress level can't go high, so it will be good if you agree with him. No strenuous activities, so maybe you should take on the yard work, snow clearing, and feeding of the animals. Do this for a year and he will live."
Later, in the car, the farmer asks his wife what the doctor said to her. She replies,
"Well, honey, he said you were gonna die."
A young blonde woman decides to try horseback riding, even though she has had no lessons or prior experience. She mounts the horse unassisted, and the horse immediately springs into action. As the horse gallops along at a steady and rhythmic pace, the blonde begins to slip from the saddle. In terror, she grabs for the horse's mane but cannot get a firm grip. She tries to throw her arms around the horse's neck, but she slides down the side of the horse anyway. The horse gallops along, seemingly oblivious of its slipping rider. Finally, losing her frail grip, the blonde attempts to leap away from the horse and throw herself to safety. Unfortunately, her foot becomes entangled in the stirrup, and she is now at the mercy of the horse's pounding hooves as her head is struck against the ground over and over and over. As her head is battered against the ground and she is mere moments away from unconsciousness, to her great fortune, the Walmart greeter sees her and unplugs the horse. A pirate walks into a bar. He has a wooden leg, an eye patch, and a hook for a hand. The bartender is curious and asks,
"How'd you get that wooden leg?"
The pirate takes a swig of ale and says,
"'Twas a terrible sea battle. I stood bravely, directly facing 12 cannons. All they managed to hit was me leg."
The bartender asks,
"What about your hook?"
The pirate takes another long swig and answers,
"Arr, 'twas the day the British Navy caught me. They tied me to the mast, and I escaped by gnawing off me own hand."
The bartender is growing skeptical.
"And how did you get that eye patch?"
The pirate takes another swig.
"'Twas a mutiny. Me own crew left me marooned on a desert island. As I looked up, a seagull flew over and pooped in me eye."
The bartender says,
"That's ridiculous. No one loses an eye from bird poop."
The pirate finishes his ale in one gulp, then grimaces.
'Twas me first day with me hook."
Dave has been in the insurance business for 25 years. Finally, sick of the stress, he quits his job and buys 50 acres of land in Alaska as far from humanity as possible. He sees the postman once a week and gets groceries once a month. Otherwise, it's total peace and quiet. After 6 months of almost total isolation, someone knocks on his door. He opens it, and a huge bearded man is standing there.
"I'm your neighbor from up the road. Having a party Friday night. Thought you might like to come."
"Great," says Dave. "After 6 months out here, I'm ready to meet some local folks. I'll be there." As the man is leaving, he stops.
"Gotta warn you though, there's gonna be some drinking."
"Not a problem," says Dave. "I can drink with the best of them." Again, the big man starts to leave and stops.
"More than likely gonna be some fighting too."
"Well, I get along with people," says Dave. "I'll be all right." The man continues.
"More than likely gonna be some wild sex too."
"Now that's really not a problem," replies Dave, warming to the idea. "I've been all alone for 6 months. I'll definitely be there. By the way, what should I wear?"
"Don't much matter,"
replies the big man.
"Just gonna be the two of us."
A man traveling through Tibet sees a monastery and, on a whim, decides to join. The head monk welcomes him and tells him that the monks in this monastery must take a vow of silence and are allowed to say only 2 words every 10 years. The man thinks about this and agrees to join the monastery. After 10 years, the man appears before the head monk and says, "Bed, hard." Another 10 years pass, and he stands before the head monk and says, "Food, bad." 10 more years pass, and he is once again before the head monk. "I quit," he says.
Well, I'm no surprised,
Says the head monk.
You've done nothing but complain since you got here.
A husband and his wife were celebrating 50 years together. Their 3 kids, all very successful, agreed to a Sunday dinner in their honor. "Happy anniversary, Mom and Dad," gushed son number 1, a surgeon. "Sorry I'm running late. I had an emergency at the hospital with a patient, you know how it is, and I didn't have time to get you a gift."
Not to worry,
said the father.
the important thing is that we're all together today.
Son number 2, a lawyer, arrived and announced,
You and Mom look great, Dad. I just flew in from Los Angeles between depositions and didn't have time to shop for you.
It's nothing,
said the father.
we're glad you were able to come.
Just then, the daughter, a marketing executive, arrived.
Hello and happy anniversary. I'm sorry, but my boss is sending me out of town, and I was really busy packing, so I didn't have time to get you anything.
After they finished dessert, the father said,
There's something your mother and I have wanted to tell you for a long time. You see, we were very poor, but despite this, we were able to send each of you to college. Throughout the years, your mother and I knew we loved each other very much, but we just never found the time to get married.
The 3 children gasped, and one said,
You mean we're bastards?
Yup,
said the father.
and cheap ones at that.
One day, a man who had been stranded on a deserted island for over 10 years sees an unusual speck on the horizon.
It's certainly not a ship.
He thinks to himself. As the speck gets closer and closer, he begins to rule out the possibilities of a small boat, then even a raft. Suddenly, emerging from the surf comes a drop-dead gorgeous blonde woman wearing a wetsuit and scuba gear. She approaches the stunned guy and says,
Tell me, how long has it been since you've had a cigarette?
10 years.
replies the stunned man. With that, she reaches over and unzips a waterproof pocket on her left sleeve and pulls out a pack of cigarettes. He takes one, lights it, takes a long drag and says,
Man, oh man, is that good.
And how long has it been since you've had a sip of bourbon?
she asks. Trembling, the castaway replies,
10 years?
She reaches over, unzips her right sleeve, pulls out a flask and hands it to him. He opens the flask, takes a long swig and says,
Whoa, that's absolutely fantastic.
At this point, she starts slowly unzipping the long zipper that runs down the front of her wetsuit, looks at the man seductively and asks,
And how long has it been since you've played around?
With tears in his eyes, the guy falls to his knees and sobs.
Don't tell me you've got a set of clubs in there too.